we have one of our correspondents. I mean, that's what makes this very process more interesting, because you get to have the feeler across where you don't, you're not physically present. You have people who are covering it for us. So Olumide Macaulay, our correspondent, is in Lagos, and to bring us up to speed, Olumide, it's good to see you. You perhaps as dressed as those of us here in the studio, looking very ready for the process. What is going on? Where exactly are you in Lagos?
Good morning, Seun. I am at Bordelon Road in Ikoyi on the island in Lagos State, and I'm standing in front of a polling unit, which, as you can see, haven't begun the affairs of the day. It's called, this is polling unit 034, and even before 8:30, which time voting the process was to start, there was nobody here, and we asked questions as to the ad hoc INEC staff, why they weren't present and why it wasn't set up yet, and they weren't even sure at the time whether this polling unit was the one they were deployed to. Fast forward to about 10 minutes ago, to the arrival of these staff of INEC, ad hoc staff, as you can see, National Youth Service Corps members, who began to bring the material and set up the area for the voting. They started putting posters on the walls directing people on how to vote. As at 8:30, the residents of this area in Bordelon in Ikoyi had begun to arrive to look for the arrival of the INEC staff, and the police were here even before them, as well as the Nigerian Security Defense Corps, the NSCDC, as well. So it seems as though, Seun, we're running a little late.
Olumide, let me allow you and your cameraman to express yourself. We have some few minutes with you, and if your cameraman can just pull out a bit so we can feel the environment beyond the frame that we can see now. Let's see what is going on around, and if you can run some commentary under that, the live picture that we can see right now, so that we can get a sense. We've got some few minutes with you, Olumide, so go ahead, give us a feel. Let's see more of what is going on around you.
Yes, indeed, Seun. As I said earlier, we are in Ikoyi at Bordelon Road, and if the cameraman can move a bit to the right or to the left, or if he has to stay stationary, the point we're making is that the process has not begun. The INEC staff have arrived. They didn't arrive on time. You can see they are setting up, bringing out the material. It appears they're not going to start anytime soon, but the residents of the area, the voters, the electorate, are already present. You'll also find that there are some police officers. There's a police officer who is here, and the NSCDC, who are also here present, waiting for the process to begin. Some of the voters, as you can see, are seated. Some people are milling around, coming out of their houses. I was told by one of the voters who lives in the area that this is the axis he's been voting on for ever since he started voting. And it's something that they're very familiar with as far as this area is concerned. And this particular polling unit is actually a very familiar one to the voters. Polling unit 034 on Bordelon in Ikoyi. Let me take you back to how we got here in the first place. As you are aware, the Nigeria police have announced restriction of movement for obvious purposes today. And because of that, there was practically all the streets leading to this polling unit were deserted, and from the mainland to the island, which is a stretch of a journey that you can make given the usual Lagos traffic of about an hour plus on a good day, we got here in just minutes. So that gives an idea of how free the roads are, how deserted they are, as people try to exercise their mandate and obey the restriction of movement by the Nigeria police. So as we say, there are people coming out of their houses, there are people milling around, waiting for this polling unit to come up to speed, to come on stream, to come on board, so people can begin the process. But it appears that isn't any time too soon. So we're waiting with them to see how soon the process can begin at this polling unit in Bordelon in Ikoyi, Lagos.
Olumide, just a moment with you,
Sheung, back to
more
you.
moments that we'll be spending with you. Ikoyi is perhaps one of Africa's most expensive neighborhood. So as such, the caliber of people who live around there, maybe they're not the type who go to the polling unit early enough. But if you can also, I mean, you showed us a very good sight of the polling, the cubicle and the ballot boxes there. And I'll allow our analysts here in the studio, especially Mr. Uzi and Eze and Prof, to give us a sense of those ballot boxes and what we should expect from them. Just stay around with us, Olumide. If your cameraman can pull out, so we can also feel and be able to exchange banters with you right here on what to expect. Late start or late coming to the polling unit by some of the voters in that area. But it looks calm, and we can see police officers who are on standing by. We can see people also who are staying by the wings and waiting for their turn. Any other thing that we need to know, Olumide?
No, not much. Aside from the fact of reiterating what we know earlier, as you can see behind me, the ballot boxes, empty chairs, the voters waiting around for the process to begin. As you mentioned, everywhere is calm, the roads are deserted, people are trying to make their way to the polling unit. As you say, Ikoyi is a highbrow area, can be said to be one for high net worth individuals, and it's a residential area. Most of the houses are not far removed from the polling unit. So it's a question of people just coming out of their houses and crossing the road or walking a short distance from their houses to the polling units. So it's not a far stretch by any stretch of the imagination as far as getting to this polling unit is concerned. But the big question is, why at this time aren't all the INEC officials and the materials and the process ready to begin? That's the big question. I posed a question to one of the INEC officials who declined to comment on why this was so. So it remains to be seen when this particular polling unit will begin work and how fast the process will be. You remember that voting is supposed to end at past 2, and we've lost about 30 minutes plus already. So it's a run against time, if you like. Sheung, back to you.
And I was even going to ask you if they have that sense of the fact that, according to the law, them not arriving early is against the law, that they can be found guilty for dereliction of duty. But when you spoke to them, did they tell you as to when voting was going to end, if they were going to do anything whatsoever as a result of them coming late to ensure that nobody is disenfranchised?
This is Chamberlain. Yes, I did ask them the question as to why the process had a lethargic or a tardy start, but they declined to comment. They were I'm assuming not because they didn't want to answer me, but they were trying to speak with possibly their superiors in INEC. Remember, the people I was speaking to were INEC ad hoc staff. So these are National Youth Service Corps members. So I don't know how much of a dark they were in as far as the arrival of materials is concerned and as far as the beginning of the process is concerned. But yes, they didn't give me much information as to why this is happening this slowly. But it'll be meet to mention again that the security officials arrived on time. The Nigeria Police Force, NSCDC, the policemen in the yellow uniform, they are here, they were here on time, and they were waiting for the process to begin. Chamberlain?
All right. So thank you, Olumide. Joe, we'll keep tabs on with you from time to time so that we can just keep getting more updates from you. Well done.